Now, if you watch this video, I, built their cage off camera and got eggs. This time, we're gonna probably get eggs, maybe find another baby, and, well, it's gonna be on camera. That's gonna be the main focus of the video. Anyway, and... Now, as you see, this is the enclosure and it's kind of a cluster of sticks, which isn't bad necessarily, but it definitely does not work out in my favor when it comes to getting eggs. Now, we're gonna start taking out some sticks, and some more sticks, and maybe another stick. And while we're at it, let's get rid of this plant. Now, look at that right there. Poor quality of video because how dark it is right there. But as one of the female Farius, that's one of the stars of the show today. And now you're probably thinking, what am I doing now? Grab another stick, and maybe grabbing another stick again. And I think that we're at a point where now we can talk about this egg I found. Now, this is a deflated egg, aka, well, whatever you want to call the egg technically. But the egg is not a fertile egg. Why is that? It's because it's clearly dehydrated, because they found a way to lay in the very back corner where they shouldn't have been able to lay. And trust me, there will be many more. We're going to talk about this pretty soon. Now, that soon is actually right now. Now, as you know, guess what? When I came into the room the other day, there was a baby Farius sitting right top of that mesh. And I'm like, okay, cool. Grab the little bugger. Adorable. Small little guy, too. And I'm like, cool, let's put you in with the other babies. And quite frankly, I'm like, okay, that means I missed some. If I miss some, that means, guess what? There are eggs that aren't going to hatch. So, as you see, there's a handful of eggs on screen. Now, this is not exactly a lot of eggs to the average Joe or to other people, but to me, these are some eggs that I did not hatch, which turns into less people who could potentially enjoy this species and less of me, yes, me, learning more about this species by developing and growing up the eggs that turn into little baby anoles that I get to learn and study and learn things from the babies. So that's not something I like, so that's why this video is getting done. But anyways, let's go finish gathering everything and, get the adults out. Now, we went back to trying to grab a stick, but it became obviously kind of hard to do with these last couple. So we're going to skip ahead and we're going to talk about something cooler. Now, I found this egg that was once an egg. Well, now it's an egg still, but this is the egg that I'm assuming the most recent hatchling I found in there on the mesh roof area. That was his egg, I'm assuming. Then, right over here, I found a fertile egg, looking good. I'm assuming maybe a week or two old. We're gonna get that one into the incubator right now. Wanted to give y'all a little bit of that ASMR feel in this video, but goal of this is obviously to make sure this has enough hydration. You want the little rocks to be dark, click here, go for it, make sure it's good, keep it wet. Then, well, if you've noticed, there's more than just one container. So was there really just one fertile egg? And well, it wasn't the only fertile egg. I found a total of 3 fertilized Anoles Farius eggs. They're going in here. We're gonna do 2 in 1 and 1 in 1. So yeah, now they go to the incubator actually. Now, this is the part of the video where I'm actually gonna grab the adults out of the egg cage. The male, the female, and the other female. And get them in their little thingies so we can get all the other stuff out and officially redo their cage. Now, the reason we call her Pug, as you see, her top jaw is longer, right? And she is so mad. She pretty much ran up here, came here, jumped, whoop, hit us right here, and then jumped over to this. Then she was on this lid when I was there. Caught her, put the lid on it, and I got my hand all the way in there. And then now we have our Anole. Health-wise, she seems to be doing good, and from my idea, she kind of gained that during shipping, along with this neato little broken tail that snapped off during the shipping that I mentioned in the first video, and it is basically perfectly healed. You can still see where the new meets the old because it doesn't fire down as much, but honestly, from a distance, you can't tell. Let's get her in a silken. Look at that gorgeous young man. Now this is my male Anoles farius, and he is very much fired down. Now as you see, this species is quite known for something called a self-in structure, and his has grown drastically. Now this is one of my pretty girl female farius.
We've known each other many years, but this is the first time you ever came to me for counsel, for help. I can't remember the last time that you invited me to your house for a cup of coffee.
She's always a lot easier to catch. All I have to do is see that stick, guys, just wrap my hand around it and just grab, and then I can get her out. And as you know, the female Anoles farius do not have cell fins, but they still have small spike ridges coming up on the end of their tail. And as you see, the anoles are removed and we have some dirt here, so let's clean it up. And now that majority of the dirt is removed, we can add the next step, which is the drainage layer. Now I'm going to put a bit of water in there, but not too much, because if you put too much in there, you defeat the whole point of even having a drainage layer. Then I added in the plastic mesh, pretty much to divide the layers. Then I put a little bit of dirt in the corner, and then just put a lot of dirt in there real quick. Now I skip putting all the soil in because that can be quite repetitive, and we start adding in the other stick and doing something we're going to talk about very soon. But as you see, we're innovating with how we're doing plants to avoid what happened with all the eggs. Now what I'm pointing at is plastic egg crate. Personally, it's a lot easier to get in person because the name is complicated and hard to find online essentially, but it's super useful, especially when it comes to building enclosures for us breeders who like to do more of the more naturalistic enclosures essentially. Now the soil mixture I use for this enclosure, as you see, you're seeing sphagnum moss. Then I also used a bit of peat moss, and I use the potting soil, the eco-friendly brand I typically like to use, and on top of that, a mixture of play sand. Now as you see, I'm gonna move the leaf, and there's a stick in the wall, and that's because I just drilled in a stick that's gonna act as an anchor for that larger stick you're seeing, and did the exact same thing on the other side to start working and building essentially the main bones of the enclosure, if that makes sense. So I thought about who just wants to watch me drill a bunch of screws into wood inside of a wooden enclosure. Personally, not me, at least right now. But, you know, let's give y'all some little tour of the enclosure, and then let's go put the anoles back in. So what do y'all think of that plant? And then the uses of bigger logs above. And then a couple that are, you know, thinner in the corners, couple this and that. And then having the plant in the corner kind of branching and leaves covering this and that. Now I feel it's only right to put the little speedy little anole back in there, aka the pug. But as you know, she did fire a bit. You're seeing more of the yellow, the more blue on her face, and she is gorgeous. Now let's put her back in there, let her get a little grip, and she runs away. And I'm like, oh cool, I'm gonna start recording. And then she starts going crazy, and then now she's at the top of the cage. Then our other female, you know, the one without the weird mouth, essentially, she fired up a decent bit, but Pug always fires up the most. You know, get some good shots of her, put her back in the enclosure, and immediately she runs back to her original stick, but in a new location. Now sadly our male did not fire up because he blows these lovely ladies that we just shown out the water when he's fired up. Bright, big blue, almost an emerald glow, gorgeous young man. But he said let me fire down, but he's gonna do something interesting here, which is be a tough guy. You know, he's trying to be like that, you know what I'm saying? Pretty much once he goes back in the enclosure, he doesn't move, he just wants to sit there essentially. Which he was standing his ground, which I find pretty unique and interesting because most individuals of these species are fairly shy. Which it's nice to know that he is getting a little bit more confidence in interactions with me, but definitely not in the way I want to, sadly. But we'll work with him more. So, what do you think of the Anoles farius cage? And any of y'all who may have just been introduced to this beautiful species behind me, what are you thinking? They're a pretty unique species. Typically, they fire up to a much more brighter blues, yellows. My male's more blue. He just said, hey, we're gonna fire down for this whole video today. So he didn't do that, but we got some amazing shots on this new phone. What do you think? Up close and personal with them, and he's learning to stand his ground, which is really nice because the species is typically a more shy and cryptic anole, which were, let's say there's a person coming, they're going to be more likely to turn around from the branch and hide from said person, where he is starting to realize, hey, my stick, don't come near me. But anyways, super neato anoles, one of my favorite species. Glad we get to work on this cage and potentially fix the issue with them laying in the back corner and me not getting them, which turns into eggs that don't hatch, which turns into babies people cannot enjoy. Anyways, end of the video.